Good morning, students. So here we have our assignment for Monday, and we're doing page 14, and we're just continuing on with division. Now we're going to be practicing this all week, so it's important that you use your extra piece of paper and write very neatly so that you get all of the answers right. So we have been practicing dividing by one digit into two numbers. And today we're going to practice dividing into three. So first, you're going to do your review exercises. So you're going to do the two division problems and then a few warm-up exercises with multiplication and subtraction, and of course your speed drills. So you may or may not be very familiar with dividing into three numbers, but it's just like two numbers, except you have to bring down a third. So we're going to do the first two samples together. So here for sample 1, we have 432 divided by 3. So you're going to take it step by step, just like when you divide into two numbers. So you're going to determine if 3 can fit into 4, and it does. And how many times can 3 fit into 4? Once. So we would put a 1 here. And then 3 times 1 is 3, so we would put a 3 here. And then subtract. So 4 minus 3 is 1. And then we would bring down the 3. So we're pretty used to that. So then we'll determine how many times 3 fits into 13. And if we use our minds or if we need a multiplication table, that's okay for now. But we would know that 3 fits into 13 4 times. So we would put a 4 here. And 3 times 4 is 12. That is the biggest number that does not go over 13. So we would do 13 minus 12, and that's 1. And normally, when we divide into 2, we would finish here. But since we have one more number, we're going to bring that one down next. So it's just like the previous page, except we're bringing down a third. So we would bring down the 2, and then determine how many times 3 fits into 12. And as we know, 3 fits into 12 exactly 4 times. So we would put a 4 here, and we would not have a remainder, because 3 times 4 is 12. And 12 times 12 is 0. Now notice that even by me writing very small, I don't have a lot of space. So I strongly encourage that you use a separate piece of paper to do your work. But I'm using the book so that I can better show you. So then for the second sample, we have 913 divided by 3. So we determine how many times does 3 fit into 9. And we all know that 3 fits into 9 3 times because 3 times 3 is exactly 9. So when we put the 9 here and subtract, we get 0. Now when you're dividing with 3 numbers, here comes the trick. So we would bring down the 1. And if this were 2-digit, we would just use the 1 as a remainder. But we have a third digit. And we know that 3 cannot fit into 1. So if you bring down a number and you notice that the number cannot fit, you put a 0 because 3 fits into 1 0 times. And then bring down the third number. So if you do one number into 3 and you notice that it does not fit into one of them, you have to put a 0 because we can't leave the space blank. And then we would do 3 into 13, and just like we did before, we know that 3 fits into 13 4 times, and 3 times 4 is 12. And 13 minus 12 is 1, so that would give us a remainder 1. So you're going to complete this page the best you can. If you need a little bit of help, of course, you can let me know during our Zoom meeting at 11, but just do the best you can and try to use a separate piece of paper and include it with your weekly submissions. Okay, so here we have our spelling assignment for Monday, and we are on page 13, and we are starting on list 4. Now, you may have noticed that we didn't have a language arts lesson, and that is because we are having MAPS testing this week, and so we need a little bit of extra time to focus on that. So I strongly encourage you to join the Zoom at 11 o'clock and definitely check your emails because I will be sending you some instructions on how to take your first MAPS test. And I promise it's very easy. So here we go back to spelling. So we have our first page for our new list, and here is how we pronounce our words. So for our pattern words, we have ideal, icicle, cocoa, admire, lightning, decided, midnight, although, motivate, envelope, groceries, thoroughly. For content words, we have basin, valley, glacier, gorges, deepest, terraces, broadest. And for our vocabulary words, we have proceed, recede, proverb, and verbal. So we have done an exercise similar to the one we have today for our pattern words. And for numbers 1 to 2, it wants you to find an I in an open syllable. So all that means is that if you were to divide the words in syllables, the last letter of one syllable would end in I. So just a little example, we only have 2, but I'm going to give you 1. So ideal would be one of the answers to 1 and 2 because if we were to divide ideal as a syllable, I is by itself. So keep that in mind when you're trying to find number 2. Then for number 3, you're going to find a word that has an I, another letter, and then E. So there's only one word that has an I, a secret letter, and then E. For 5 and 6, you're going to find the 2 words that have IGH together, so that blend in the word. 7 through 9, we're going to find the word that has O in an open syllable. So divide out your syllables and find out which words have an O in an open syllable. And it looks like there are 3, numbers 7 through 9. For number 10, you're going to find the word that has an O, then a mystery letter and E. And for 11 and 12, the words that have O-U-G-H as a blend. Then, of course, for content words, as we do every week, you have your hint with the first letter using these words, but we have 2 G's here. So to make sure that you get the right G word, make sure that you look in the back of the book for the meaning. So once you're done with your math and your spelling, today you will probably be working on maps, but also don't forget that we have our lion, witch, and wardrobe project. So that means I would love for you to join me at 11 o'clock on Zoom so that we can read our first chapter together because you have a few activities to do. So if you can't join me at 11, I'm going to try really hard to record it, but I encourage you so that we can have fun and do the activities together.